In an era of disappointing sequels and reboots, did this one surpass the original?
Spoiler alert. Abso-fucking-lutely. Blackpool 2 was like The Godfather 2. Or like Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Like, so much better than the first. Like Superman 2. Or Aliens. Or The Empire Strikes Back. Or The Wrath of Khan. Or... Friday the 13th Part 2, or The Dark Knight, or Final Destination 2, or Break Into Electric Boogaloo. Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. Fuck you, I think it was better. This was like Hot Shots Part 2.
Support, no DQ.
Welcome everybody to a rated R review of NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. I am Wiz Fresh, Stephen Osborne, joined as always by the General Jerry Slaughter.
Good afternoon, wrestling fans.
Yes, it is mid-afternoon. What a weird time to be watching a TakeOver and doing a review, but...
And being awake and everything, yeah.
5 o'clock in the UK is when they did this. Granted, you know, usually it's 8 o'clock, whatever time zone that they're doing a show from, but 5 o'clock for them, so it is weird, but sure, fine. Trent Seven versus Eddie Dennis starts the show, and I have to make note, Eddie Dennis comes out with this mask on that is a dragon mask, and it's made of leather, and it's all matte black, and I swear to God, it looks like something that you unlock in a video game. Like, you haven't unlocked the full mask yet. We'll get to see that at the next TakeOver, maybe. But it was fun, I guess.
I loved it. I hated it at the same time.
Yeah, because I think it was a really cool design, but the fact that it's all the same color, like, it's hard to tell how cool it could be. This match was really cool. It was fairly short. It was to the point. It had a lot of fighting, not chain wrestling or any of that bullshit. Not a lot of rest holds.
A lot of strikes.
The end of the match was a thing of beauty. Like, I didn't see it coming, and I will get there. But before I break down the match, what were your thoughts?
This match could have easily been the match that, you know, could have ruined the evening just from the get-go, because we're not really used to seeing great matches out of Eddie Dennis, and we're definitely not really seeing many good showings out of Trent Seven. So for them to put on like an awesome match like they did with like such brutality and everything, it was great. It was a great warm-up for the rest of the crowd to get them going, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see anything of note in this match, and then I've got a bunch of notes. Dennis goes for an instant big boot into the corner, so right off the bat, I'm writing shit that I've never seen. Trent Seven ducks in the corner, which puts Eddie Dennis's boot over the top rope, and Trent Seven lifts up with his arm on Dennis' chest through his leg and does a single arm bomb.
I actually thought for a second there, I'm like, oh my God, that's how the match is going to end.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. Eddie Dennis hits a razor's edge out of the corner, like Trent Seven was going up top, and he pulls him out of the corner. So an easy razor's edge. He'll try to hit one later. His move into the corner is what, a severed bridge?
Yes.
Severed bridge?
Yeah.
Seversville Bridge.
Severs Bridge.
Eddie Dennis counters a 7-star lariat with a spinning, swinging side Uranagi. So he kind of like grabs him for a power slam, but he does an airplane and then swings him around for that side Uranagi slam. That was cool. Somewhere in here, Eddie Dennis goes over to the corner while the ref is distracted a little bit and starts taking off the top turnbuckle. And the ref notices, but there's nothing he can do because the match is going on, and the buckle kind of stays. Meanwhile, Trent Seven comes over there, and Dennis ducks, and he catches him and takes him up top and hits him with a superplex. In the meantime, the buckle actually, or the padding, falls off. So just after this, when they both get up, Trent Seven goes in for a lariat or something, and Eddie Dennis ducks, and Seven goes face first of his own accord into the exposed turnbuckle. And then Trent Seven picks him up for a severed bridge. Now, he wants to drop him into the exposed turnbuckle. The referee, however, does not want that to happen. He blocks his path. And Eddie Dennis is like, come on, man. Come on. I want to finish this match. And the ref's like, no, don't you do it. And he's like, okay. So instead, he turns slightly to the side, and instead of putting him into another turnbuckle, he throws him over the top rope into like a cameraman helper, like the key grip guy on the outside. Throws him into the sumbitch. Drops him. Goes outside, picks him up, throws him back in the ring, pins him. 1, 2, kick out.
Yep.
He only got a near fall. But he picks him up and he hits, what's that finisher he calls?
Next stop driver.
Next stop driver. And then he gets the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. Eddie Dennis gets the win. And
where do you think this is going to lead from here? Do you see Eddie Dennis actually getting another push? Or do we think he got injured sometime during the match and we just don't know it yet?
It's either Eddie Dennis versus Mark Andrews or it's Eddie Dennis versus Tyler Bate next, I would hope. He's working his way to Pete Dunne, eventually coming back to NXT UK facing him.
Yeah.
He's got to work his way through his list. Meanwhile, we have a list of matches, and the second one on the show is actually
the women's title match.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd put the women's title match on this early.
Well,
Toni Storm, Piper Niven, Kaylee Ray in a triple threat.
It's completely against any takeover that I've seen so far, because the women's title match is usually right before the men's titles match, because they're the most important singles belts. But considering the magnitude of the other matches we were getting in the evening, it kind of makes sense. Like, the whole flow of the show, I think, could have been ruined by that. But for this reason, and this reason alone, this triple threat match, it worked. I was totally expecting to be just disappointed by this match, because I'm not a huge Toni Storm. I wasn't a Toni Storm fan, still pretty much not. Piper Niven, I didn't know what she was going to be able to pull in this match or bring to it in any way, shape, or form. And then Kaylee Ray, she's not really vanilla, but she's got her standard set of moves and doesn't vary away from it at all. So I wasn't expecting to see much of anything, but this match turned out really fucking good.
Yeah, I agree. I was expecting to be underwhelmed, and I wasn't expecting much out of this match. But I've got more notes on this match than I do the Trent Seven and Eddie Dennis match, which is surprising. Kaylee Ray with a ripcord super kick into a tornado DDT on Toni Storm for a near fall. Kaylee Ray gets a chair, because this is a triple threat, so there's no rules. And she starts choking everybody with the leg end of the chair.
Bad camera angle.
Yeah, bad camera angles, but good idea, I guess. They end up teaming up on her and getting the chair out of the mix. And then Toni Storm hits a tope suicida onto Kaylee Ray on the outside. And then Piper Niven runs off the apron into what they called a tumble thistle.
Yep.
It was a running cannonball. Maybe they meant a tumbleweed, but maybe in Britain they call it a tumble thistle. I don't know. Anyway, she hits that onto Kaylee Ray, and then somehow Kaylee Ray is the first to get back up, gets back in the ring, and runs into the corner and hits a plancha off the top onto both of them on the outside. That was crazy.
She was just flying everywhere in that match.
See, Niven hits a powerbomb on Storm, and Kaylee Ray hits a swanton onto Storm. And then Niven hits a powerbomb on Kaylee Ray, and a Michinoku driver only gets a near fall. I called this, yeah. It was like kick out.
I'm about to say, the Michinoku driver, the move she had bestowed upon her.
Well, she went for another one, and Kaylee Ray gets out with an eye gouge and hits a gory bomb, but only gets a near fall for that, because Toni Storm breaks it up. Niven hits a Canadian destroyer. This was, wow.
That threw me right there.
Piper Niven hits a Canadian destroyer on Kaylee Ray, and then Storm kicks her off of and hits a Storm Zero onto Kaylee Ray, but Piper Niven kicks her out of the fall, or pushes her out of the fall.
Yep.
Storm hits a Storm Zero on Kaylee Ray across Niven's back, and then a fairy tale ending on Piper Niven. Like she was going to go for a
Storm Zero,
but couldn't flip her, so she just hit a pedigree essentially out of it. Gets a near fall. And then Storm goes up top and hits a frog splash, but Kaylee Ray gets in the ring and super kicks her head off before she could get the pin, and then steals the pin and gets the 1-2-3 on Piper Niven.
The best super kick I saw, though, was one that nailed flush on Piper Niven.
Yeah, Kaylee Ray is the queen of the super kick.
Oh, yes.
I would say. This match was way above par as far as I'm concerned. Like, this was...
So Kaylee Ray
far more than I expected.
Kaylee Ray pretty much keeps on establishing her dominance and also her smarts in this match. She played this match very, very smart. Piper Niven, now she's just kind of lost in the shuffle again. Toni Storm, they didn't really have much to lose in this match. She wanted to, if anything, she just wanted to beat Kaylee Ray. But at the same time, she also has her match against Rhea Ripley in like, what, less than a week? About a week and a day? To face off for the NXT Championship, which she'll probably lose. Go Ripley.
Go Ripley. Travis Banks is in the crowd. Hopefully he didn't get injured on his way in or out. Up next, Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin. And if there was a one-on-one match that was going to steal this show, it was this one. It was awesome.
Awesome's not even a word for it. It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's like basically AJ Styles had to rethink his name after this.
The tag team match required 8 men and a fuck ton of ladders
and a couple tables
in order to keep pace with this match. And trust me, it did. We'll get there. But this match was fucking awesome. I'm gonna break it down. I tried to hold back from taking too many notes because we know who we're dealing with here.
Yes,
Jordan Devlin and Tyler.
They're both human. Guys, yeah. They're both human highlight reels.
So I tried to keep it away from all of the crazy stuff that they do that we've seen before. Go ahead and give your thoughts first, though.
Wow, that's all there is to it. We've been watching Jordan Devlin, wrestle week in and week out on NXT UK, and are never disappointed. There's always that moment where it's like, oh, this episode's gonna suck. And all of a sudden, Devlin's music hits, like, okay, this episode just got like 75% better. Anytime Devlin shows up into a match, you know you're gonna get a good quality match. TakeOver Blackpool. He was gonna face Travis Banks. Didn't happen. He ended up facing Finn Balor. Great match. Still lost. And Tyler Bate, he doesn't have a great win-loss record in NXT UK takeovers either. But we established, both of them have gone away, winless in this whole thing.
Yeah, neither of these guys has had a win at NXT UK takeovers.
Nope.
And so this is a historic match in and of itself. One of these guys is finally going to get their first takeover win, or UK takeover win.
We didn't even think about that until like halfway through the match, and we're like, does it even fucking matter? It's just Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate.
No, we didn't need any more reason to watch this match, and they didn't need to mention it either. Shit.
This match, they already had their first match 3 years ago, and Tyler Bate came out on top on that one. But 3 years has passed since then. Devlin's gotten wiser, more added to his arsenal, more fierce. And Tyler Bate, I'm gonna say this right now, he's kind of slowed down compared to where he was. But even then, he's still a consummate performer to the point where he's still outshining pretty much anybody else that goes through that company.
Yeah, you speak of Jordan Devlin adding to his repertoire, and I believe that my first note here is a good metaphor for the match inside the match.
Yeah.
Devlin hits the greatest hits #1.
Yep.
Remixed. So his greatest hits #1, if you don't know what we're talking about, is the Uranagi into the standing moonsault. He's on the apron. Tyler Bate is in the ring. He hits the Uranagi over the top rope, into the ring, and then jumps onto the top rope and does like RVD would do a split-legged moonsault, only his legs weren't split. Does a moonsault using the top rope onto Tyler Bate for the near fall. That was cool as fuck. Let's see. He counters a Bate top rope crossbody with a lung blower, which was really
that was just poetry in motion right there. Yeah. Everything about that spot just looked fantastic.
Got a near fall. Devlin counters, or not Devlin, Bate counters Devlin. He's going for a slingshot into probably a cutter, but he grabs him up, and it looks like he's going to hit a burning hammer, but he flips it over and does the longest airplane spin, fucking at like easily over a minute long. Just kept going and going and going to the point to where even he was fucked up at the end of it, like fell sideways into the corner, but then came out of that and hit a brain buster. I'm like, oh, that's the kind of move you want to hit after you just spun yourself stupid.
Yeah.
Is a brain buster on a motherfucker, but it looked great. We do get the Devlin spring into the cutter, and then he gets thrown over the top rope, like where they run into the corner, and then the dude's like, oh, back body drops him over the top rope. Well, he springs right back in and hits that slingshot cutter.
Yep.
And then Bates on the outside gets up on the apron, and he does it again. A slingshot cutter onto the apron. Now, they tried to make it look like Tyler Bate countered it, but he didn't counter it.
No.
He caught a slingshot cutter to the hardest part of the ring, don't you know? See, Devlin counters that Peter Pan spring off of the top rope that Tyler Bate does into a lariat. He counters that into a Spanish fly. And then they get up, and Bate counters a Devlin side, and then tries to do a sunset bomb, but Devlin counters off of that, and we get a headbutt to Bate, and then they're both down, and then we get the bang, and then another headbutt, and then they're both down again.
Any headbutt in this match just sounded vicious.
Like, every bop got reversed with either a block or a bang by Devlin. Like, these guys know each other so well, it was crazy. They both go up to the top rope, and somehow Devlin counters, gets a Spanish fly off the top rope, picks him up.
They literally changed positions on the top rope.
Yeah, it looked like originally
Devlin never even broke eyes with Tyler Bate.
Originally, it looked like Tyler Bate could have hit the Spanish fly, and then somehow they just do their little dance on the top rope, and Devlin hits the Spanish fly, immediately picks him up into a Devlin side, and only gets a near fall. And it's at that point I knew Jordan Devlin wasn't winning this match.
No.
Bate ends up on the apron and does a slingshot twirling DDT. So he slingshots off the top rope, spins in midair, catches Devlin with a DDT, and then picks him up into a Tyler driver. And I did call the near fall. Bless his heart. Devlin kicked out, but then Tyler Bate went up top and hit essentially a red arrow. Senton, almost a swanton basically, because he basically rolled off of him. But then he got the 1, 2, 3. He got the pinfall off of that. Tyler Bate wins. And as if to cement and establish the legacy of this win, we cut to a shot of Triple H and
William Regal and Johnny Saint
in the best balcony seating there is in the joint, just clapping and crying.
Yep. Beautiful match.
It was great. I just wish Jordan Devlin had won.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the tag team ladder match. Mark Coffey and Wolfgang of Gallus, Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster of the South Wales Subculture, Zach Gibson and James Drake, the grizzled young veterans, and Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel of Imperium. This is a 4-team ladder match for the tag team championships, and this kept the car in gear. Like, we went 100 miles an hour for this match.
Yes. I'm about to say, Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate could have easily stolen the show, and it kind of did to some extent. But this 4-way ladder match lived up to all of its expectations, exceeded the expectations. Probably the best ladder match I've seen in quite a long time. Even tables, ladders, and chairs wise.
Get it right. This ended up being a tables, ladders, and chairs
yes.
match. This was fast paced from beginning to end. There were no down spots. There were so many cool spots, stuff that nobody's ever done before, stuff that people have done before but done better. Like, this was fucking phenomenal as well.
Even the table couldn't keep up with this match.
Yes. The botches were not bad though.
No,
there was
weren't.
like one botch, and it was just like.
And even then they corrected it and probably turned it into one of those moments that are going to be shown on TakeOver films from here on in.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna break this down. The highest of the high spots, because trust me, folks, there was a lot of shit going on in this match. I didn't want to be writing notes and missing stuff, so got a ton of the highest of the high spots. But what were your thoughts?
Well, initially when Gallus came out first, I'm like, what is this shit? I'm like, this is the it's a 4-way match and everything, but it's for the tag championships. You have all the other teams come out, then you have the champs come out, present the belts, and then you have it lifted up in the air. Well, what they did here was just had Gallus come out first, hand the ref the belts, and even then the ref kind of set him off to the side real quick to get the clothes hanger, I guess we can call, for it to be put on there. And the rest of the teams made their entrances, and then next thing you know, we see the clothes hanger with the two belts, and it gets lifted up. So I'm like, okay, this works out just as well. But then after that, any disappointment I had with the way the introductions went right out the fucking window, because it was just nonstop. Like, first we had grizzled young veterans bringing in chairs, and that kind of came back to haunt them. And then the tables got introduced a little later on, and just the ladder spots, everything about this match would like had any predecessors, the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian. They probably took notice and were like, all right, awesome.
I had one disappointing spot in the match, and it wasn't the botched table. And by botched, we don't mean anybody's fault whatsoever. The table itself was botched. But you had mentioned the grizzled young veterans regretting bringing the chairs in. My first note is exactly that. Because Gallus hangs Drake up in the tree of woe in the corner, and then sets chairs up, 2 chairs, next to his face. And I'm like, they're not going to do this. This is somebody else's move. And sure enough, Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner take over, and they do that double drop kick, that double basement drop kick into the chairs, into Drake's face. And it was great. My next note, Gallus hits that catapult Samoan drop onto a ladder onto Drake.
Yeah.
Like, this was
Drake
right after...
took so much fucking punishment.
Somebody got chokeslammed into that ladder, and then they catapulted his ass into the... Oh, yeah, he took a lot of damage in this match. Let's see, Mandrews hits this single-leg shooting star off the side of the ladder when he had an opportunity to go for the titles. Instead, he wanted to take out Mark Coffey. Eichner hits a double springboard moonsault onto Flash Morgan Webster, who is draped across the ladder that is draped across the middle rope.
That's something I really don't see a lot in these ladder matches, is the use of the ropes with the ladders, because that just adds even more force and, like, you know...
It helps the wrestler because of that spring down, and then it looks better because of the spring back up.
Yeah.
Your favorite part, as he mentioned to me, was Marcel Bartel leaping over Flash Morgan Webster out of the way of the splash that was coming. The man with too many names.
It was just a cool looking spot.
Yeah, it really was. Let's see. We had 5 ladders set up in the ring, and all 8 guys at one point were climbing these ladders. And this was the disappointing spot to me, because you had 3 ladders set up next to each other. One ladder ends up getting bridged between the middle rope, or the top rope, and one of the rungs on one ladder. And then the 5th ladder, I think Flash Morgan Webster brings it in and drapes it over top of somebody that's in the middle of climbing another ladder and starts climbing that ladder. So at one point we have all 8 guys up in the air, and it falls apart, but in a very anticlimactic way. It's just kind of people falling off here and there. And it seemed like there was supposed to be some sweet moves that just didn't happen because you had too many pawns in play.
Yeah.
But anyway, that spot aside, we saw Drake hit a 450 splash off of that bridged ladder onto Mandrews, which was really cool, even though he probably could have gone for the titles at that point, but whatever. Mark Coffey breaks the table with his sheer weight. So the setup here is the tallest of the ladders gets set up outside on the far end away from hard camera. And then 2 tables get set up from ring apron to barricade next to those tables, kind of over near the posts on either side. And Wolfgang and Mark Coffey get taken out on the apron and draped across these tables, but Mark Coffey's table collapses as soon as he gets across.
Breaks right in half.
Yeah, right in half.
It's not even a collapse. Like, a collapse could have been fixed. This table was fucked.
So instead of Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews going up to the top of the ladder and doing separate sentons onto these guys, they go up to the same side of the ladder and do a double stereo senton into Wolfgang through the table.
And
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was about to say, Wolfgang probably didn't sign on for that shit. It looked like it hurt like hell.
Holy shit.
There was no way of it, like, that pain on his face being anything but legit.
And I thought I couldn't have gone nuts anymore, and then we saw Imperium deliver that lawn dart suplex onto Mark Andrews off of a ladder. Mm-hmm. And I was happy. Oh my god, that was so cool. And then towards the end here, Wolfgang spears Eichner. Like, Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel are about to go up for the titles, and we're like, okay, we're right, you know. Imperium's going to have all the gold at the end of the show. No, Eichner gets speared through a ladder that was set up in the corner by Wolfgang.
It exploded.
And then Joe Coffey tips Mark Coffey, tips Marcel Bartel over from the top of the ladder out of the ring onto everybody outside. And then Gallus climbs the ladder, grabs the belts. They retain. Wow. Like, I didn't expect that outcome, but I was fine with it. That match was
I was about
awesome.
to say, Imperium didn't win, and that sucks. But it was also a match they didn't really feel, you know, was worthy in general. But you wouldn't think that because they were so fucking good in this match. There's that other spot where they actually Marcel Bartel actually drop kicked the ladder. I think it's like Mark Andrews' stomach, like in the corner, because it's like wedged in between there.
There were a lot of spots.
Yeah, there are so many spots. It's one of those matches you actually have to sit and watch, because what he just listed off to me, 25% of what the fuck happened.
Yeah, there were a lot of spots. If I had been writing notes for all the spots, like, we'd still be talking about it.
But right even then, even with Imperium losing, I couldn't be angry at this match because it was just masterfully done.
It was awesome.
Like, they could have easily gone, you know, south with the whole table just breaking in half, but they made it work regardless, and that's the only bad spot I saw in the entire match.
So, after a quick spot of Ridge Holland in the crowd, which I don't like because it makes him more human. Fuck that. We are on to the main event. The WWE United Kingdom Championship. Walter versus Joe Coffey. And I knew this match was going to be slow. I knew it was possibly going to be clunky.
It needed to be slow, at least at the beginning, just to, like, I guess you say build suspense, but at this point it's for people to catch their breath.
The question here is, compare this to Blackpool 1 and Joe Coffey versus Pete Dunne. This ended up being a much better match.
Yes.
The first half of it was probably comparable to the first half of that main event. And then after that, like, somewhere this match just went off the rails and ended up being fucking cool.
Yeah.
I won't call it awesome, but I will call it fucking cool. Especially there at the very, very end.
Yes.
But I'll break it down after your thoughts.
I kind of already knew walking into this that Walter was going to retain the belt. That was kind of a given. I don't want to say, I'm not trying to take anything away from Joe Coffey at this point, but I knew Joe Coffey was going to give him a hell of a battle. He was going to, like, you know, Walter was going to know he was in a war with Joe Coffey. And sure enough, he did. Joe Coffey put on the best performance, I think, that he's ever done in the company so far. So, You said it yourself though. Joe Coffey versus Pete Dunne. That was a great match. This one was a phenomenal match. And I think it was the fact that we didn't really have a lot of, wear downs or anything, technical about it. This was just two guys who wanted to beat the living hell out of each other until one of them could not stand up anymore.
Basically. Or, in this case, taps out from the pain.
Which, that's the only weak part of the match for me. But
you didn't watch the show, folks. Guess out there which one of these guys tapped out. It's hard to imagine. But I would say it's harder to imagine Walter, and you would be right. Yeah, Joe Coffey taps out and loses. Honestly, loses. Because they should have had him passing out. That's the only way they could have made this match better, is if Joe had passed out instead. But up to that, I got a lot of notes here. My first note is halfway through the match when, again, I said the match goes off the rails. And the reason it goes off the rails is because Walter goes for that running drop kick and Joe ducks. And the ref catches it. And he catches it hard, dude. They did the replay of that and I'm like, whoa, whiplash much? Holy shit. He gets sent out of the ring. And after this, Coffey hits a power bomb, but he can't get a count. I think Walter had, previous to this, hit a power bomb on him.
Yeah.
But didn't get the pinfall. He kicked out of that. Alexander Wolf comes down, of course, the ref's down, why not? He attacks Joe, but then Ilya Dragunov comes down and attacks Wolf. He goes to hit the Torpedo Moscow on Wolf, hits it, but knocks Wolf into Joe.
I actually thought Wolf was going to duck it and and Dragunov was going to completely nail Joe with it. But even then, the lasting effects after that move were pretty much prevalent.
What's important here is the story. And the story is now Joe's leg is hurt because of Ilya Dragunov. And Walter sees it. And he goes outside and he attacks Joe, who he sees limping, kicks him into the steps, picks him up, throws him into the ring steps, and then picks him up and power bombs him onto the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring.
Don't you know?
And, Walter gets him back in the ring and hits a clothesline, but there's still no count. No ref, but suddenly a new ref appears, and so he gets a 2 count out of that, but no pinfall. Let's see, they get back up, and Walter ends up kicking Joe's leg out from under him, and then does a top rope splash, only gets a near fall. And then they get back up, and eventually Joe gets back in it, hits 2 All Raw Best for the Bells, and only gets a near fall. Goes for a third one, and Walter dodges it and ends up grabbing him in a sleeper hold, which Joe manages to fight off, gets to the ropes, but then Walter releases just long enough to break his arms off the ropes, get him in a sleeper hold, and then hit him with a sleeper hold suplex. Picks him up, hits him with what? A power bomb, a back chop.
Yep.
And then power bombs him again, and then does this side headlock sleeper hold, which looks like it's a side headlock crippler crossface almost.
Mm-hmm.
And gets him to tap out. It took 2 finishers, a back chop, and a sleep.
It took a lot to drown out that coffee.
I really don't like the tap out. I don't like I don't like the hold itself. That looks like a side headlock on the ground, and a lot of guys do that. Nobody ever fucking taps out.
Well, yeah, I figured Tyler Bate got taken out by a clothesline.
Still, though, Walter, he's a professional wrestler. Give him a move that looks different than that.
I think he needs to have something like that.
Sure, but not a side headlock. Jesus Christ, not a side. Anyway.
Come on, next pay-per-view, I want to see Walter win with an abdominal stretch.
The savior of grace to this minor disappointment at the end of the match, and Joe tapping out instead of passing out.
The rest of Imperium comes out.
Yeah, and they pose, and of course they are shy the tag team championship belts, but still
fresh with ice.
Walter's got the UK title. At the very least,
they've still
got
on top.
that.
Yeah.
So they pose, and the crowd goes nuts. And I'm sitting here thinking the crowd is not going this nuts for these 4 guys. Something's up. Something is up because Undisputed Era shows up and they attack.
And the place erupted.
Fucking goes nuts.
The place went ape shit.
They attack. They take down Alexander Wolf, Eichner, and Bartel. Walter's left in the ring with Adam Cole, and then they surround him, all four. They beat him down, hit a high-low from O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and pick him up, and the last thing we see is Adam Cole hitting the last shot and them doing the Undisputed Era pose.
Everybody was waiting for it too.
The whole crowd was doing the They were waiting for the Adam Cole baby, but no Adam Cole baby, and nobody in the crowd thought to yell out real quick Adam Cole, and so oh well. But this was awesome. It sets up for 2 weeks from now, right before the Royal Rumble. We get Worlds Collide, 4-on-4, Undisputed Era versus Imperium. And right now, I'd say Undisputed Era has the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
That brings us to the end of the main event. And here on our shows, we normally like to rate the main event. But I think we're going to break protocol since it is NXT UK TakeOver.
And it's a
new year. We are going to rate the whole show using the General's 5-star rating system because it is far less complicated than using spots of NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you rate this show, Jerry, out of 5 stars?
Okay, before we even get into that, we need to discuss Blackpool 1. Okay, and we had, in that one, we had the Tag Team Championship being crowned. We had the Grizzled Young Veterans versus British Strong Style. I'm not even calling
Match of the night.
Yeah, match of the night. But then we look at this tag match, and it was way better. We look at the women's match on the first Blackpool.
Granted, it had Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley was in there, which makes it super.
But it
awesome.
also had Toni Storm.
But it had Toni Storm, which brought down.
And this one did too, but only a third of it.
Yeah,
Instead of half
because Toni Storm ended up winning that match.
And somehow, just this triple threat match was so much better.
Yeah, it was.
So much better. And then you take, let's say, one of the grudge matches. You have Eddie Dennis versus either Dave Mastiff or Eddie Dennis versus Trent Seven. Easily, Eddie Dennis versus Trent Seven was a better match. It was shorter. It was more to the point.
And it had
that awesome ending.
And it had more of a emotional investment, as we can say, in it, because like we already saw the feud building up between these two versus Eddie Dennis and Mastiff, who just wanted to beat the crap out of each other.
And you have Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate, or you have Jordan Devlin versus Finn Balor. Granted, Finn Balor is a bigger name.
He was also the person that trained Jordan Devlin.
But Jordan Devlin was Finn Balor's bitch in that match.
Yeah.
And in the match tonight,
Jordan Devlin was no one's bitch in this match.
No one's bitch. It was right down the middle for the whole match, all the way up until the end. As soon as Tyler Bate kicked out of that combination that ended with the Devlin side.
Yeah, it was
I knew Jordan Devlin wasn't going to win, but still, much better match. And then you bring it down to the main event, the men's title match.
Joe Coffey versus Pete Dunne, or Joe Coffey versus Walter.
And easily, this one was better.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So based on that analysis, I won't say it was perfect, but it was close enough to it. Because I still sting a little bit the fact that Joe Coffey tapped out. That just bothers me just enough that I don't want to give it 5 stars. So 4 3/4 is probably as high as I can go with it, because it wasn't, in my opinion, the perfect takeover, but it was damn near close.
This was the best NXT UK takeover that we have had yet. This was the sequel to Blackpool 1 with 5 rematches. Get this, every single match on this card, somebody had the equivalent match.
Yeah.
Toni Storm was in both. Jordan Devlin was in both. Eddie Dennis was in both. The Grizzled Young Veterans were in both. And Joe Coffey was in both.
Mm-hmm.
And every single match was better this time around.
And it mattered. Each match mattered.
Every match was great. And it's starting at great. I'm going to give this 5 stars because I would agree with you that the disappointing Joe tapping out ending, even if Joe had lost in any way, shape, or form, would be better than Joe tapping out.
Yeah.
So any other way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think it would have taken him either passing out or just being completely obliterated by Walter to keep him down.
but then Undisputed Era showed up.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the actual ending of the show. And I'm going to give them credit, and I'm going to bring it back to 5 stars. 5 stars for this show. This was great.
And I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. Colin Andrew called it. I was sitting there just like, and he texted me through it. It's like, what if Undisputed Era shows up at the end to, like, you know, attack Imperium while they're in the ring to kind of like segue towards Worlds Collide? I'm like, that would be pretty great. And then sure enough, like, there was that long pause after like Imperium started posing. I'm like,
and then the crowd went nuts.
So I knew something was going on.
So that brings us to the end of this Rated R review. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, we are from Aftermatch Wrestling. We do the NXT party where we review NXT UK weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We also do What's NXT where we review NXT's weekly shows. So if you want to find us, go to Aftermatch Wrestling on YouTube. That's all one word, AFTERMATCH, Aftermatch Wrestling. Or it's probably right under the video.
That's a good spot for it.
Now, on our NXT parties, we like to have guests up on the screen to help us review NXT UK. If you'd like that to be you and come join the NXT team, you can find me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stefan. That's STEFAN. Or if you just want to look me up, it's at Stefan R. Osborne, OSBORNE. As always, the R stands for restricted. You can also find the Gentleman on Twitter.
At General_JSJ, my Facebook group Armbar, all capital, ARMBAR. Exclamation point. We also now have the Aftermatch Wrestling Facebook page, like, and that's a public group. So just go ahead and find us on there. Like, we'll throw you into it. And we also have our Instagram page that our good boy Colin Andrew threw together for us.
Aftermatch_wrestling. Mm-hmm. You can also find me on Instagram at osborne.stefan and Jerry on Instagram at
the_gentleman_slaughter.
Nice. And if you want to help the channel, you can find us on Patreon at Stefan R. Osborne. Or if you just have a little bit of time, click that like button. If you like our video, click the subscribe button over there if you like all of our videos. And if you want to help us try to grow our channel, click that share button and share us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or on your YouTube, wherever. And if you have friends that like to watch wrestling, maybe they'll like to watch us bullshit about wrestling. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, also subscribe to NoDQ and support NoDQ. NoDQ.com/merch. Mm-hmm. And support our other friends, our NXT members. The Cleaver Colin Andrew, his YouTube channel. Simply_C_OK.
That's Cindy.
That's Cindy.
Yeah.
Her YouTube channel. Noah Foster 210. That's Noah Foster's YouTube channel.
Collins is Colin. Is it Colin?
The Cleaver Colin Andrew.
Yeah.
Spaces between all words. Let's see. Wrestling Fortune 44 for Owen Finch. And
Weymouth Youth Wrestling.
WEYMOUTH Youth Wrestling for James Hebert. And the Holiday Chris Mace, his YouTube channel. And let's see. Mark's Reviews.
Yeah,
Mark Griffith. The Griff. And I think that's all of them. Yeah. Jeff Meacham. He's got a new podcast on Anchor.
Jeff Meacham's really all over the place now. He is making a big return.
Big return for Jeff Meacham, so check him out. Hopefully we can get on the show soon. Other than that, for the gentleman, Jerry Slaughter, I'm the Wizard of No DQ, Wiz Fresh, the Rated R reviewer, Stefan Osborne. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in NXT time.